How's it going, everyone? This is the test. I'm not feeling so great still. This has been a weird thing. Basically, I got virus. It hasn't been like horrific, but it's been annoying. And coughing, a lot of like runny nose and like stuff like that. A lot of like fever spikes and dips, spike and dips. It's made it difficult to sleep. I find myself very lethargic and very like tired a lot. And frankly, the worst is my throat. The throat hurts a lot, and I've got a pretty consistent cough, but it's pretty like, it's not like I'm hacking all the time, but when I do, it sounds horrifying. So we're doing an experiment because I want to record, and I'm going to try this out. We'll see how it goes. I'll see how long I can go. This little sucker is going to be my ticket. It's a cough drop. I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm going to record it. I'm going to put it out probably, for sure, unless it's really bad. I see it's already starting. And I'm going to try it. If it works, I'm just going to like huck these down and do some more recording. Whether I can get back to work or not is the question, because basically they tested for all the usual stuff and it wasn't any of the usual stuff. This is something different. Probably just a less prolific or well-known virus. Basically, it just means they gotta watch my symptoms. And until my symptoms leave, I'm not supposed to go back to work. Unfortunately, it's been like a week, so I'm just trying to figure that out, but, you know, we'll get there when we get there. Anyway, I'm gonna pop this in, and we're gonna go. So, like, it's gonna be in my mouth, and it's gonna be, you know, I'm gonna get it started right now. It's going to possibly be a little distracting, but at least I'm recording. And it'll keep me from coughing at least for a little while. So we're going to do this as a trial. And if it goes well, I'm going to continue recording more videos through the next couple days and be able to publish them. And hopefully I can at least do this much. Thanks for your patience in this. But yeah. I will say, because of the fact that I'm not feeling super great, regardless of what happens in this episode, this will be a shorter one. I gave you guys 2 hours of last week. It's not going to be 2 hours. I just won't have it in me to do 2 hours. But we're going to go for it. I'm looking at myself in the camera, too. I still don't look great, do I? Like, I feel like I'm looking pretty pale. I'm kind of like, ugh. It's just, man. I hate getting sick so much. It just ruins everything. Anyway. Let's jump into this. So, Keiichi kind of started losing his mind because everything's going really weird. Like, I feel like we've gotten to this Twilight Zone type of space where nothing actually makes sense anymore. Because despite the fact that he set up an ambush that probably shouldn't have worked, took out the crazy uncle, buried him, and met Takano. Who took him home, and then he gets there, and her body's found in the mountain. But here's something really odd, because people reminded me of a couple things in the last week's episode that like just make this even more crazy. And there's stuff that like was brought up before that was weird, but in the context is even stranger now, because they point out there's two things. They first point out that it is odd that we are seeing the events that Keiichi's friends saw him doing at the, when they saw him at Watanagashi, it reflected the actions and activities that he did in the first game, the first chapter. And yet, then, what's odd about that too, is that now that they've kind of caught us into, like, how we're acting a little strange, now Mion and Rena are acting the same way they did in that first chapter, right? Where they're both like now trying to lure us away. It looks like that they mean us harm. Like they're acting they're acting crazy, like they're under the curse. And then in the second part, remember how one of the weirdest things in chapter 2 was that we go into the storehouse, right, with Tomatake-san, and like that was the taboo that we broke that got us in trouble. When we did that, there was like the reveal where they found Takano's body up in the mountains burned in a barrel, right? Which we saw repeated here. And someone pointed out, I remember, like, hey, do you remember the weird thing about that there? The really strange, mysterious part. They said that her body had been found, but it looked like she had died 3 days prior, which means that she technically died the day before Watanagashi, which can't be happening because we saw her that day, and then the next day at Watanagashi, she helped us get into the storehouse. So how could we have talked with her and met her after she died already? And then someone pointed that out here, if that event chain is maintained in this timeline as well, then who did we see last night? Because it's strongly implied that she was the one who killed Tomitaka-san. But was that really her? Or is it a doppelganger? So this theory about a doppelganger, or maybe a demon that can take the form of people, might be a bit more grounded than we originally thought. At least I thought, because it's now we're having two manifestations of somebody being somewhere they couldn't have been. And that's impossibly people being where they should not be able to be. And what does it mean? Why? It's almost in part of me is wondering, when someone snaps, right? When the curse triggers on somebody, could it possibly be the curse splitting off as a secondary version of them, right? So, you want to talk about banana theories? Let's talk about banana theories. So, Keiichi from Chapter 1, normal human. Keiichi from Chapter 2, normal human. Takano, demon. Because real Takano had already died. But she had some kind of maybe corrupt desire, or some the curse took hold of her. And she splits at that, they split at that point into two different entities. A normal human version and a demon version. And what if the demon didn't know they were a demon? What if they were just following through on that mad desire that drew the curse in? That point where they make that commitment, we're I could just kill that person. And then that's when the curse takes over, and then they split. That sounds absolutely crazy. But if that is the case, that does explain a lot. Because that could explain how Keiichi was in two places at once. Because the thing is that we're not Keiichi anymore. We're actually a demon wearing his face. Because we were able to commit a murder. It's... I don't know, though. There's very little water to this. For example, Rena and... Grena and Mion. Chapter 1, we don't really see any evidence that could support that. Chapter 2, you could argue that it seemed like Mion, after she got it was this whole thing where didn't they say that she threw herself into the well? She tried to escape but she fell and she died. But then Mion, somebody appeared at Shion's apartment, and Shion was flung from her balcony, but they ruled it a suicide because the room was locked and no one could have been there. And she then appeared at our house and stabbed Keiichi, nearly killing him, and seemed to be haunting his hospital room, even though she was dead. I had been dead. In fact, didn't they even say in that chapter that she had been confirmed dead? They knew they had her, and yet she appeared in their room. And she appeared to Shion and the Keiichi almost at the same time. So oddly, there's actually some precedent here to this idea of doppelganger / a demon that splits off and has the shape of another person. And that split off occurs when the original person commits to the idea of murdering and torturing and bringing harm to people in line with the curse. That there's one part of them that's human still, and there's one part of them that's a demon, and the demon kind of breaks free somehow. But that's Sorry, that's insane. I can't believe I'm saying that. But it's like, where else are we supposed to go with this? So, anyway, I've rambled for a while, but I feel like it's okay because what the crap is happening? Oh my gosh! All right, let's jump in. Let's see how this goes from here because I've gone for 10 minutes now. This is long enough to rant on. All right. When I didn't respond, Ooishi took one of the tin buckets that we're using to bail out the muddy water, scooped up some of it, and splashed the whole thing into my face. There's this whole thing, too. This Ooishi is so, like, dark and so, like, kind of... He started off so nice. Someone even also pointed out, too. In Chapter 1, he came off as this really nice, kind guy who, like, unfortunately was using Keiichi as bait to try and draw out a murderer. In Chapter 2, he was really determined to try and take me on down, but was totally willing to sacrifice children if it meant finding the culprit. And in this chapter, he's literally doing the whole, like, soprano on us, where it's like he's forcing us to dig out here, either forcing us to uncover the body, or what I think happens is the police found the body already because it wasn't hidden that well. And if that's the case, he's just messing with him. So, I don't know. Maybe he's trying to get him into a position where he'll confess, but we'll see. Still, it feels very dark. Ooishi smiled to himself and scooped up another bucket full of muddy water.
もう一回聞きますよ。あなたの趣味は雨の夜の穴掘りですかな？
そんな趣味のやついるもんか。
Splash. Ooishi hit me with another bucket full of muddy water. The pebbles in it stung.
あの穴を掘ると何が出てくるんですかな？私、花坂じいさんのここ掘れワンワンってのが昔から憧れでしてね。
I do not know what that story is, but it's probably like a classic like child's tale from Japan. As he spoke, he ran the bucket through the muddy water again. Just splashed it in my face again.
あそこにどんな宝物が埋まってるんですかね。私にちょっとだけでもおし。
If you want to know, then dig in your own time, you fetching pig. I wasn't saying it out loud, but Ooishi mercilessly drenched me in muddy water again anyway. Shoot, shoot, shoot. If only you hadn't showed up, the world wouldn't have gone wrong. No, that's not true. Ever since you showed up, things have been strange. Satoko got abused by our uncle. I ended up killing him, and the world went crazy. He was how it all began. Because of this culprit. He splashed another bucket of mud in my face. My insides were seething with anger. Die, you. You die too. If I had some strange power to kill somebody by cursing them like I did with Takeru-san, then you're dead. And it won't be Ooishi-sama's curse, it'll be mine. I'll curse you and kill you.
反抗的な目つきですね。これを機に少しそのあたりをお勉強してしまいましょうか。今は平和な時代ですがね。私があなたくらいだった頃は、
Oh gosh.
何でも鉄拳制裁が普通でして。
おいさ。
One of the digging men in raincoats wiped some sweat off and called Ooishi over. Ooishi tossed the bucket away and turned around with an evil grin on his face.
はいはい、何でしょうか。
これを見てください。
Acceptance, or maybe resignation. I wanted to say to them, so you blockheads finally found it? Yeah, that's right, I'm the one who killed him. But you're the police, so you do your own job and figure out who he is, right? Come on, prove to me that he's really Satoko's uncle.
何ですかこりゃ。
多分古い排水管ではないかと。
An old drain pipe.
あそこの用水路に繋がっているようです。
ぶっ壊しちゃいましょうか。どうせ使ってない缶でしょ。
The men now exchanged glances and hesitantly broached another topic.
おいさ、もうかなり手応えが固いです。これより深くってことはありえないと思います。
Oh, is the body not here?
掘る場所を間違えました？
いえ、初めのうちは明らかに掘り返す感触でした。
Okay.
ですが、このくらいを掘った頃から急に硬くなりまして。
Weird.
多分、もともと掘った穴よりも深く掘り進んだのだと思います。
じゃあ、つまり何ですか？ここには穴があって、何もなく、ただそのまま埋め直されたと。皆さん、そうおっしゃるわけで？
What? I agree. What? So that implies there is no body. So maybe we did get the right target and it was her uncle, but he somehow didn't die, despite the fact that he probably should have been dead. What were they talking about? Oh, wait a minute. Drainage pipe. So if we hit him, knocked him unconscious, and we buried him, right? And the idea was supposed to be that with the rain and the mud and everything, he should have just drowned, even if we hadn't killed him. But if there's no drainage pipe, we buried him like at the drainage pipe. He might have actually been able to crawl through a drainage pipe and get out.
こりゃ、参ったな。ねえ、前原さん。
Ooishi grabbed my collar and dragged me to the huge hole they dug. The mud inside was like an ocean. I couldn't see any drain pipe down there. One of the men stirred with the shovel, letting me hear it clang against something hard. There was no doubt I'd buried him right here. But I hadn't buried him this deep. I didn't dig deep enough to unearth the entire drain pipe. So then this man, his corpse, where was it? Proof that I'd been successful on that night was gone. Gone. Then what on earth was I? Was I actually crazy after all? And did I just possessed by delusion I killed someone? That couldn't be. Maybe. It was the unmistakable truth. It couldn't have been an hallucination. But now, the most important evidence that it hadn't been an illusion was gone. I killed him. I buried him. I had absolute unwavering confidence in that fact. Then, did I fail to kill him? After I left here, had he started breathing again, crawled out, and gone back to Satoko's house? Was that it? I had come here to see whether he had a tattoo or not, and yet the truth I unearthed was far more than that. Yesterday, what was I? I killed him. I buried him. There was no doubt. But for some reason he lived and crawled back out. And that was impossible too. I'm so tired of hearing the word impossible over and over. I get it. Dead people don't like to play by the rules here in Hinamizawa. Then I'll kill you as many times as I need to. I'll keep killing you until you never show your face to Satoko again. Ooishi and the others were muttering to each other. Eventually their conversation ended and Ooishi came toward me. What did he want to say? What did he want to do? I stiffened, tensing up, and then Ooishi just ignored me like I wasn't even there and passed right by me. The other men too. They ignored me and shuffled away. Eventually there was no longer any sign of anyone was around, and I returned to my quiet world of silhouettes. The only one left there was me. Only the sound of the pouring rain filled up the silence. What the fetch is happening? I'm guessing this is the end of the chapter. I was like 10 minutes away from the end. I should have just kept going. Ah, well. Yeah. So what is happening? Con turned up nothing. Alright, let's see the new tips. Inquiry request. Okinomiya Police Station Command Center Transmission Recording. June 20, 808 p.m.
こちら沖宮 PS 感度良好です。
車両ナンバー紹介をお願いします。獅子骨歯の4344。
副将、獅子骨歯の4344。少々お時間もらえますがよろしいですか？
お願いします。
Number match. Shushibone H4344 or Yan I think he said so each Nissan, so he said Yanshi Yanyan 4344. Owner, blah blah. Address, Hinamizawa Village, Shishibon. Vehicle make and model. The report, theft report, none. Special mentions, nothing of note.
沖宮 PS より大石社どうぞ。先ほどのナンバーが判明しました。大石社どうぞ。大石社、応答願います。あれ？大石社、応答願。
大石さんが車両紹介？誰の車だよ。
村人の車ですね。至って平凡な。
何者だよ。大石さんが聞いてくるからにはただ者じゃないんだろ。
突起事項欄は完全に空欄ですね。S 号指定もなし。
S group。
減点もなしだし。
バッシングでもされて腹が立ったんじゃないの？あの人、根に持つとなかなか忘れないタイプなんだよ。
That's weird. So you said, hey, I need a license plate number, and there was just nothing odd about it. Record of malice. He said it smelled. He said the food smelled. He said it smelled because I smelled. He said I smelled because I didn't take baths. He said to take baths 3 times a day because I was a smelly person. He said I had to stay in a bath for a long time every time. He must be possessed by something too. This is the same thing the man who died said. What does he know what that man said before? That much is obvious. The same thing that possessed that man is now possessing him. Can't a sudden earthquake make a big hole in front of the house? If it did, he would definitely go and look into it. And then I just have to push him in. I won't give in until I get that chance. I won't give in, I won't cry. I won't give in, I won't cry. Someone is apologizing again. What is happening? What does that even mean? This game, it's going to destroy my brain. I don't even know what's happening anymore. The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that, but I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Satoko had said, I failed to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude as much, no matter what strange natural disaster, coincidence, or miracle it might have implied. In order to free Satoko, I became a demon, and this abnormal world was my reward. Yes, metaphorically, I had fallen into the demon world. But if that price had been in exchange for the life of Satoko's uncle, then that would have been fine. Since Satoko's uncle was still alive, still shackled to her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. One more time. No, as many times as it took. I would kill that man over and over again till Satoko was liberated. I had already woken. I looked at the clock to see it was early in the morning, just after 5. It was already light outside. Once I'd hardened my resolve to become a demon again, I could feel my whole body teeming with the awakened power once more. Time wasn't an issue. No matter what, I'll do it. I got myself up. The exhaustion from the past 2 days had completely swept away, and I didn't even feel sleepy anymore either. I slowly rose and made sure my body was moving like I wanted it to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. As I got dressed, I left my mind to wander and had a strange thought. Those 2 days. Well, I've said it was for Satoko's sake. The only thing on my mind has been killing. I've said it was for Satoko, but while actually carrying out the act, I'd completely forgotten about Satoko, albeit only temporarily. Maybe initially it was for Satoko's sake, but now I was just a demon, killing for the sake of killing. And as a result, I'd sunk into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe it was the same for Satoshi. He resolved himself to kill his aunt to save Satoko, became a demon, then disappeared from the sunlit Hinamizawa, vanishing into the demon world. Which meant that after all was said and done, I'd meet the same fate as him. I tried to avoid making the same mistakes, but it happened anyway. Which meant that maybe Satoshi was here. Satoshi had come to this world a year before me, so he would be here somewhere. Then, surprised, I stopped walking. There's that chime again. There was a second set of footprints I'd grown so used to hearing. That's right, so somebody else said to, they pointed out the other odd thing I'd forgotten about is in this front room. In the first chapter, when he was getting all paranoid and scared, he thought he heard somebody behind him, and he flipped out and smashed up everything in this front room. They're like, that was odd too.
お前、ひょっとして、サトシなのか?
The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer. But I felt a strange kind of relief that there was someone there that Satoshi had stuck with me the whole time. Let's go, Satoshi. One more. This time we'll set Satoko free for sure. I quietly slipped out of my house so my parents wouldn't notice. If they caught me now, I'd be way too late for 2 days now. They'd give me a real angry talking to. I didn't have time to allow for that to happen. Today I would put an end to it. If the dead body disappeared, then I didn't have to bury it. I could just burn it to ashes, and I could take them with me, so I could kill him again every time he resurrected. I'd do it again. I'd kill him again. And this time I'd set her free. Outside, the morning light was so beautiful as if to stagger belief. I went to the storage room to find weapons for which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, didn't matter to me. Right now, I didn't need to care whether someone saw or if the police came. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I'd showed up at the festival and had fun even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrested me, I'd probably end up going right back home as if nothing had happened. Both me and the other Keiichi Maribara. Even without me, he'd fill in. I could vanish from Hinamizawa without anyone noticing. So basically, I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. Even if I died, Keiichi Maribara would remain. After all, this isn't the world I belong in. If I was going to be killed mistakenly for Satoko's sake, then this was just part of my duty as her nini. As those desperate thoughts became serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough.
これは怖いな。こいつにするか。
It was a hatchet meant for chopping thick firewood. Oh gosh, you're just going for the Rena stick, huh? A hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. I couldn't exactly take it out in public like that, so I wrapped a little in some old newspaper tossed into the basket of my bike.
連日、悪い用事に使ってばかりで悪いな。今日も頼むぜ。俺の足。
I apologized to my bike for some reason. For the past 3 days, I'd only used it for dangerous things. I'd been riding this bike ever since we lived in my old town. I could walk most places I wanted to go, so I hadn't used it at all that much. My mom had brought it for me when I entered cram school, thinking it would be a convenient way to get to the station since it was far away. So I'd always used it to get back and forth from cram school. I'd only ever put textbooks and class materials in the front basket too. I'd never tried to put a hatchet that I'd be using to kill someone in here. He's so casual about it now. When I came to Hinamizawa, life finally felt fun. I met the best friends ever, had some great times. Those times might have been shattered now, but it was my greatest wish that I could get them back, even if I had to risk my life to do it. That's how fun those times had been. I killed somebody, and now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Murder was a crime. Yeah, that's true. Didn't believe that people should ever think murder was okay. But still, the times I'd had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime. My friends were irreplaceable, the time spent with them a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking each other, but always in a friendly way. I didn't fear committing any crime as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. Yes, this was a value I decided to uphold. It wasn't something I learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path that I chose for myself. I thought back to when I'd first come to Hinamizawa. About how the very first day Satoko had welcomed me via a blackboard eraser with a rock in it. That welcome really surprised the heck out of me. Yeah, I remember that too. She would laugh, get angry, cry. She was never boring. She was obviously the most childlike amongst us, but she actually was lively, full of vim and vigor, good at meddling in other people's business. That went for Mion, Rena, and Rika-chan too. Wasn't Satoko the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? Satoko would try to look cool, and Mion would make fun of her endlessly. Then Satoko would cry, which would put Rena in a state of ecstasy. Rika-chan would be greatly delighted. And I'd happen to get mixed up in it. We would always fool around like that. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name one for whom it was the worst, it would have been Satoko. Her smile was everyone's smile. Ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us. And for the rest of us, not smiling was the same as dying. It was just like when I was silently going to cram school every day just to maintain my unchanging test scores. So basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable. In that case, I was her knight, searching for a dragon's castle in order to win her smile back. Phew.
ナイトなら武器は剣だろ。
See, this is the other problem I run into when about being sick, is like, I just kind of get winded. I just get so tired. I've been sleeping a lot and just being really just drugged down. This is what I was also worried about too, is like, I could record, but like, my energy levels be... So we'll see. If I do record this weekend, I'm going to prioritize the visual novels. I might sidestep trails, just because, oof, man, this is... I haven't been recording that long, and I already feel like just absolutely floored. So, I definitely don't know if I can keep this up much this week. I'll do my best, but we'll see. We'll see what I can manage. Knights, of course, use swords.
ツーハンデッドのかっこいいやつ。錆びた肉厚のナタで挑むナイトは、多分、古今東西俺一人だな。
He's so just nonchalant. Then I saw an old person in the ridge of a field waving to me.
おやケイチくんかい。朝のサイクリングかいね。
おはようございます。
I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way. Should I really have been feeling so happy waving like that? Satoko's house would be right past this road going beyond the rice paddies. The cicadas had woken up too, and the next thing I knew, I was the audience to their daily chorus. I gave myself a hint or two in the head, drove away the merry morning mood. Took a deep breath and tilted my head back, quelling my pointless excitement. The body wasn't there. Its absence either meant my killing him had been an illusion, or that I'd killed him and then he'd risen from the dead. That's sadly the only options that really are there. Well, yeah, there's also technically you didn't kill him. But yeah, like, basically the way it described it, kind of like the doctor said, like, he should have been dead. If I was at the festival, then maybe I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which is why he treated me like a lunatic. But it being an illusion was just impossible. I killed him without a doubt. Without a doubt. Now we're repeating ourselves like Rena. If it had been an illusion, that would make all this Hinamizawa make all of this Hinamizawa I was in right now an illusion. If that were the case, then here's how it would end up. I was actually in a vegetative state due to traffic accident. I was currently dreaming in a hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with friends in a rice paddies like this. That was a terrifying thought, though. If this wasn't an illusion, then the only possible answer that he'd resurrected, it would make him a literal monster. But if he was such a monster, then I was no less of a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone, and I could even wield curses. Takado-sana died probably because I'd cursed her. Or maybe that was a little much. If Coach and Ooishi died too, then I'd cursed them to yesterday, then I'd believe it. Oh boy. I stepped by the bicycle aside and went to take a look. His motorbike wasn't here. Of course it wasn't. I sent it to hell that night, throwing it in the Onikakushi swamp. Or maybe, just like how the corpse wasn't here, maybe the motorbike didn't get thrown into the swamp either? The fact his bike wasn't here might have been because he'd gone to town and hadn't come back, not necessarily because I'd thrown it into the swamp. If her uncle wasn't around, then that was convenient on its own. Then I would show myself in, wait until for him to return, sharpening the hatchet. If he was there... Forgotten sensations came back to my gut. A feeling of tension rose within me. The sensation was like poison, dulling my actions, but it could also be the trigger to allow me to awaken my superhuman, otherworldly self. I held the hatchet still wrapped in newspaper. The weight in my hands was profound, sinister, and reliable. I hadn't put my on my watch, so I didn't know what time it was, but it was probably still a little before 7. Satoko probably would have be awake preparing breakfast and her lunch. But her uncle would probably still be lazing around in bed. A guy like him probably would have stayed up late drinking and probably always slept until noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Satoko open the door for me, but if her uncle woke up to the sound, it wastes my chance of him being still asleep. If Satoko saw me sneaking inside without ringing the doorbell, she'd be surprised. If I ran into her, what would I say? I've come to kill your uncle for you, so stay quiet. No, I couldn't do that. That would be like making Satoko responsible for his death. Be quiet and go wait outside? Maybe that would do it. How would Satoko react to that? She would probably try and get me to give up on killing him. I would have to lie somewhere, somehow, to get her to go outside. Satoko didn't know that a murder was going to occur in this house. I couldn't quite think of a good lie to tell her, but I couldn't do much just sitting around like this. I made up my mind and grabbed the doorknob. Then slowly turned it and pulled. It wasn't locked. Why is he going inside? Why wouldn't he just wait until Satoko left and then go in? God. Sometimes the decisions of this kid. The gap between the door and the wall steadily grew larger. The chain wasn't even on. The oppressive smell of life in Satoko's house hit me. In the entrance, there were a few pairs of shoes and sandals. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not by looking at them. I could hear a television on somewhere. The television wasn't a messy dining room. There was food scattered across the table, giving an impression of decidedly different from happy family mealtime. Meals were for eating food while thanking the person for making it, meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal. Nobody in sight. No sign of anyone either. But with the television on, he must have been. Could he have anticipated my coming and be hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick, so tight I thought it would choke me. The newspaper wrapping the hatchet's thick blade didn't hamper its power at all. I tightened my grip on it and very carefully took a look around. Where are those peaceful feelings from before I'd arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat bubbling up on my brow got on my nerves. And then I looked at the table and realized something. This wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were all dried up. Then this was it last night's dinner? I left the dining room, keeping vigilant, went down the hallway, and found the stairs to the second floor. When that man was playing with his friends, he looked up out of the second-story window. It was highly possible the room was his own, that he slept there. I tiptoed up the edges of the stairs, quietly climbing without making a sound. Oh my gosh, I can't breathe! Literally, I can't breathe because my nose is stuffed up. I couldn't hear any kind of snoring. Didn't hear anything up here. I went through a few rooms, slowly and quietly opening the paper doors, checking inside. But I still couldn't find anyone around. To search more effectively, I got down on the floor and pressed my ear right up to it. I could hear the television in the dining room, a low hum, perhaps the boiling water. It was then I started to harbor some feeling of suspicion. The house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the TV was on, but it wasn't normal for nobody to be around this early in the morning. Silently descended the stairs and went back to the dining room. I looked at the food scattered around. Completely dried up rice. An overturned bowl of miso soup. A package of side dish brought by the supermarket. Could tell Satoko had definitely been the one who made this. The food was far from beyond perfection or Rena's gentleness, but it was sincere. Judging by how she cooked for me at my house, and from the type of amount of side dishes, I deduced the meal was from last night. The numbers stamped on the food packaging read 8830620. That's the year, month, and day. June 20, 1983. That was yesterday. And there was food for two, which meant that this was last night's dinner and Satoko's uncle would have been here then. Stop it, Keiichi. Don't even think about saying the word impossible again. Anyway, our uncle was here last night. That much was the truth. He had found fault with Satoko's food, thrown the bowl of miso soup, and flung the rest everywhere. Hidden deep within my feeling of calm composure was lit a flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy? Bump. I heard the sound again, the one from before, like a water boiler. What was it? Where was it? What was it coming from? The first floor? But where? The bathroom, maybe? I could hear the noise coming from the other side of the frosted glass at the far end of the changing room. It had to have been the sound of water boiler for the bath. Steam was enshrouding the glass door, the heat from it leaking into the changing room where I was standing too. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take a bath this early in the morning. If one did, then it would mean that in this house time had been stopped ever since some moment last night. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Was it being reheated? The water boiler in the bathroom had been active the whole time. I checked the clothing basket and saw Satoko's familiar uniform stuffed in it. The uniform had stains and dried rice stuck to it, certainly not something she could wear today. It was probably from the miso soup at the dinner table yesterday. I looked hard at the frosted glass, but I couldn't see anything through the steam. And then the electric surge ran through my mind and a terrible premonition came over me. Could she... She couldn't possibly have been in there since last night. That would be impossible. But no. In Hinamizawa right now, nothing was impossible. Oh gosh, no. That better not be what's happening here. I gulped audibly and quietly pulled aside the glass door. Hot steaming air bubbled out the slight opening. The fan wasn't on in the changing room, so it was completely white with steam. What the fetch is happening? Just as the hot vapor poured into the changing room, cool air also flowed into the room with the bath. And I just heard, due to being hit by the air, the very weak moan. That was all I needed to know who it was.
Satoko!
No answer. Satoko's in the bathtub, surrounded by a thick layer of rising steam. The top half of her body was leaning over the edge of the tub, and she was passed out. The water boiler kept on making a whistling noise as if angered. I could see the gas flame was through the window, was roaring at full force, completely blue. Satoko's entire body was boiled red and flaccid as though her bones had melted away. She was almost like a doll. She lay there unconscious. Wasn't sure how many seconds passed. I stared in complete bafflement. Came back to my senses and promptly shut off the boiler. Then I dragged Satoko's small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was hot as the water in public baths. Was she in boiling water for an entire night? She'll die! She'll die! Satoko's body was lighter than I expected as I laid her on the floor, wrapped her in a towel. I went back to the bathroom and opened the vent, creating a path for a cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, Satoko moaned again.
大丈夫かSatoko! 俺だ圭一だわかるか聞こえるか
Satoko recognized me and muttered a response, but I couldn't really tell what she was saying. Her eyes were muddy and unfocused. I could tell she wasn't completely conscious. Upon closer inspection, her limbs and waist were twitching slightly. This was way worse than normal overheating. This was dangerous. Didn't they call this a heat stroke? Think, what would the teacher do if a girl passed out in the middle of summer during a marathon in gym class or something? I turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way on and soaked a towel in it. Then took a cold towel and pressed it to Satoko's forehead. Satoko reacted harshly to the coldness and let out a muffled voice. For burns, right, you would soak the burned spot under your running water. Then could I run cold water in the shower and cool her off like that? Actually, you gotta be careful with that because if someone's burned, burned like this, and dehydrated, it's a delicate combination. It's like, it's you got Boy Scout coming out of me. So, you would want to do here. First, you always call for help first. Make sure you have professionals on the way. Once you do that, in the meantime, you would want to cool her body, but not freeze her. So basically, you'd want to run her body under cold water for a few minutes. I'd say maybe 10, 20 minutes at most. And then you need to get her out and you need to warm her up because she's not going to be able to control her body temperature. Because like her body's overwhelmed. So you try and cool her, which is good. You stop the burning process, but then you need to keep her from going into hypothermic shock, which is ironic because it is one of the more common ways for burn victims to die after they've been trying to help them because they end up cooling them too much. And like you also need to try and prevent the burns from getting infected. If these are first degree burns, which it sounds like is most likely, it depends on how hot the water is. If they're first degree burns, then you don't need to worry too much. If it's second degree burns, you actually would also want to put a protective layer around her skin that has been burned to try and prevent it from getting infected. Ironically, I only learned this recently, but a really great first layer of defense until you get to a proper treatment facility is saran wrap or cling wrap. You put that on the skin, it prevents direct contact from the towels and things you're going to try to use to keep them warm and dry. And so you put the saran wrap on and then you cover them up. No, if it was that sudden, it wouldn't be good for her heart. She'd go into shock. I think I read that once before. That's also true. If she's really on the edge, you wouldn't want to do it too quickly. You'd start with lukewarm water and then slowly go to cooler. This is about much about nursing as I could possibly give her. Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur.
大丈夫かSatokoもう大丈夫だからな必ず俺がニーニーが助けてやるからな
5039 5000
What is that? 5,039? What? What was Satoko reciting under her breath? I brought my ear to her mouth to better make out the mysterious spell-like words she kept saying. And at that moment I understood what they were for.
サトコ、お前、数を数えてるのか？なんで？
People will tell little kids in a bath to count to 100 a lot, right? Satoko is counting like that. But 5,339?
バカ野郎！お前の家の風呂はいくつ数える決まりになってんだよ！
I doubted my ears and doubted her common sense. 10,000?
ふざけるなバカ野郎！1万なんて数えられるバカがどこにいるんだよ！数えられるわけねえだろ！その前にユダって死んじまうに決まってんだろ！どうしてこんなことに！
Last night, her uncle flew into a rage at dinner, said she'd made, saying it stunk and was inedible. Satoko didn't understand what on earth he meant. It wasn't much different than what she usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of the pickled vegetables she'd brought in particular. Her uncle then decided the stink was originating from Satoko. He shouted at her that she never ever took baths. And then he put Satoko in boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted 2. Fetch me. Can I give props to the voice actor? Holy cow. Snapped and exploded. Rising the newspaper wrapped hatchet, I stamped through the house. Searched for anything, traces, signs, smells, vibrations, heartbeats. With a war cry, I raced up the stairs with such force I could have stomped a hole through them. Then I found the futon in the room I thought to be her uncle's, and well aware he wasn't sleeping in it, I bashed it with the hatchet. Did he run to the closet? I'd burst the entire closet down, door and all. And if he's not there, maybe there's a secret door. Any switches or levers in the walls here? He's just going mad again. He's doing the same thing he did in chapter 1. I smashed into the wall with the hatchet, crushing them. Dust rose in the air and broken pieces scattered about the floor. I smashed all the glass windows too, for good measure. Need some water, bud? After I destroyed everything beyond recognition in her uncle's room, my reason finally kicked in and suppressed my emotions. Anyway, her uncle wasn't in the house right now. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now, I had to do something about Satoko. I went back to the changing room. Satoko was still lying limp on the floor. There was nothing more like amateur like me could do for her. I needed to take her to the clinic. Coach had treated me like a lunatic yesterday, tried to lock me up in the mental hospital. I never wanted to see his darn face again, but I still needed to get to the infirmary one more time. I needed to have a doctor look at Satoko. I thought about putting her in the dirty uniform laying on the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone, so it would be pretty difficult. Shoot, I don't have time to be wasting here. I eventually gave up on clothing her and decided to carry her in a bath towel. The clinic was close to Satoko's house. It'd be way faster to carry her there than call 911 and get an ambulance. I threw the biggest towel I could find over her and prompted her to stand.
立てるか。俺が診療所までおぶって行ってやるから。ありがとう。ですわ。
Her words sounded clearer than before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief just knowing she'd improved even a little bit. Satoko turned over so she was lying on her face and then just put up a weak struggle to get up to her knee. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put on her seemed like it was about to fall off.
すぐ着くから。しばらくの間だけ我慢してろ。
Yeah, that's why I was saying like the barrier, the cling wrap, because now the towel fibers might get like in her skin. Because if she's gotten to the point where she has second-degree burns, that's like the top layer of her skin is basically dyed, and it's gonna peel off. The skin underneath is gonna be really raw, and potentially like it's basically should be treated like an open wound. And so getting fibers in that is like really risky. It didn't hurt one bit to carry Satoko. She was light, too light. The lightness actually made me uneasy. Outside it had gotten hotter, as though eager to attack Satoko. Fetching cicadas. Why'd I have to choose this morning to go so hot out? I didn't have time to swear at them. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Satoko on my back, I broke into a trot. Ugh. Okay. Well, that sucks. Alright. I'm gonna end here. Again, I know it's not much content we've covered, but I'm kind of floundering here. Like I'm exhausted. I don't feel great. The cough drop's been able to keep the coughing at bay, but that's about it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can push through and make some more recordings this week. I don't want to be sick anymore. But every time I try and do stuff, I get that harsh reminder that I can't. I remember, like, the problem is too, is like it's spreading throughout the house. Like, everyone here has gotten sick now. I went to the store to just stock up on food. I put on a mask and everything to be as respectful as I could. I did a quick trip. I was gone maybe 30 minutes, but like halfway through, I had to like take a break just because it was too much. I hate it. I hate getting sick, and I hate how sick I tend to get. Like, I don't get sick too often. When I do, it feels like I just get obliterated by it. Whatever it is, it just takes me to the freaking ground. And I hate how disruptive it makes things. But anyway, thank you for being here. Hopefully you didn't mind it being a shorter episode. Fetch me. Didn't realize it was gonna get this crazy. So, yeah. I have a feeling we're gonna drop her off at the clinic, and then we're gonna go back to the house, and we're gonna wait for Uncle to come home. Oh. It's nuts, man. This is absolute nuts. You'd think, though, something like this is going to be able to tip the scale and get, like, her, like, saved by the system, right? You'd think this is a pretty blatant clear, but she could just say it was her fault that she fell asleep in the tub. You know, she'll come up with some BS for it. Gosh darn it. Alright. Anyway, I think we're good here. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel, for being a part of it. It's wonderful to have you here. It's wonderful to be able to share it with you. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. I certainly did. And though I feel the fever coming back in and just, you know, we'll have to see how things go. Hopefully you enjoyed it and it was worth pushing a little bit to get this out. We'll see what else I can manage to get through this week. Despite the fact that I would love nothing more than playing Trails, that's definitely a bigger time commitment than visual novels. So it might be a bit harder for me to pull off. Anyway, thank you so much. And until next video, watch me up, see me in next. I'll see you there.